Welcome back. So today we've got another kind of vlog style update. I promise I will get back to some edited, car reviews. I've just been a little busy. So I thought, there's always some car stuff happening and I might as well take my friends along for the ride. So here we are today. We are in the 1998 Lexus LS400. Got 230,000 miles and change. As I mentioned yesterday, my Kia Optima plug-in hybrid is in the shop. It's at the dealership actually for several mysterious warning lights. And thankfully I just replaced the tires on this car. So it's, fresh tires, fresh alignment, and it is battle ready. So it's going to be doing my A to B business for the next, I don't know how many days. It's nice to be back in the saddle, I gotta say. I kind of wanted to talk about some driving impressions, what it's like to drive a 23-year-old car kind of as a modern car. There are obviously going to be some things that are kind of lacking in terms of tech and features and stuff that we've kind of become used to with modern cars. Obviously no backup camera. I could install, an aftermarket head unit and wire up a camera and everything, but since this is my extra car, not really worth the money at this time. I do miss the adaptive cruise that I'm so fond of. I do miss having headroom. As you can see, my hair is touching the headliner, so I either have to lean way back and kind of recline the seat, which is nice, but if you're trying to see out of your mirrors, it's just a little challenging. Sorry about the ways. I would turn him down, but I don't have any steering wheel controls and I need to steer with my other hand. So, and that's the other thing, no steering wheel controls except for the driver information display thing, which is fine. And for a 23-year-old car, pretty cool that it has that. It has tank average and miles since refuel, elapsed time, average speed, range. Really all the stuff that you would get on a modern car, which is great. Current miles per gallon. It's just no volume control, nothing like that. No next track or anything. But it's pretty good. So in any case, you may see me kind of doing this a little bit. There we go, like right there. The suspension in this car, it's sprung very softly, which is nice. I know if probably a lot of you watch Hoovie's Garage, and I love that channel. I would love to have a hoopty fleet like him someday. And one of Hoovie's biggest gripes is that luxury cars nowadays are not soft. They've got tires with really short sidewalls, so they don't absorb the bumps there. Ooh, Tesla doing something really sketchy. Man, not cool. Anyway, I don't know if you saw that in the back there. But yeah, cars are not soft anymore. Luxury cars are performance oriented. They're firm. They can do the Nürburgring. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Deal with it. But cars like this just don't exist anymore. Rear wheel drive, as I mentioned, you'll see me doing this. Soft suspension and suspension seats, which is pretty neat. And it's the one thing that they didn't put in the redesign when when Lexus redid the 400 and moved to the LS430, they didn't do the suspension seats. And even though the LS430 has a superb ride, and really nice, the suspension seats would really be nice. That would have made it even softer. Because it's nice when you hit a bump and there are two things taking up the shock, before it gets to your body. And I think that's one of the things that makes driving an LS400 so special and so smooth. It's just that you don't even feel it thanks to the seat. And this seat has 230,000 miles, and it's it's surprisingly still comfortable. I have had it re-padded a couple of times, but so the passenger seat feels very different from the driver's seat, but it's very nice. And when you drive this car, especially on the freeway, it kind of just, you feel like you're being kind of pushed. The rear wheel drive, the V8, which is just buttery smooth, and just seems to always have some power. Even if if you have to really get into it, it'll really scoot. It's not a speed demon, but for being as old as it is, from the era that it's from, if you think about it, 1998, Bill Clinton was still in office. I was still in high school when this car was new. So, it really boggles my mind. Like, that was so long ago, and yet this car still feels so modern, all things considered. A couple of thoughts about the new tires I got, the Michelin Defenders. Obviously, a huge fan. I know they're not the smoothest, quietest tires you can get, just because they're an 80,000 mile tread. So the compound's going to be a little bit firmer, a little harder, just so that it'll last longer. But, honestly, if you have a car like this, it's such a soft car that you're going to be fine. Unless you're trying to do some like coilover performance mods, which, as I've mentioned before, that's not my cup of tea. I would much rather. Ooh. Good to know. Police reported ahead. Let's whoa nilly a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Of course, I'm doing strictly 55, or whatever the speed limit is. Oh yeah, there are a bunch of police there. I'm gonna lower this phone just a little bit too. Now we got 1 highway patrol, 3 highway patrol. Shout out to law enforcement. I didn't do anything wrong. So I was talking about the tires, I believe. So I am going to have to take the car back to American Tire Depot where I got the tires. No disrespect to them or anything. I'm not completely pleased with the balance job. It seems to have actually gotten better. I don't know why. Maybe I just got used to the car. Driving a 2018 car with under 50,000 miles, everything's real tight in that, and it's just fresher. But I just kind of feel like the front end does shake a little bit. A little bit. It's not bad, but I just kind of feel like it's not as good as it should be. Man, I miss my HOV sticker. To be stuck behind these slow people. Ooh. But I do feel just like a little bit of shake in the steering wheel. And that's me being picky. I think most people wouldn't notice it. Not that I have some sort of like special superpower sense of driving a car, but I'm just really kind of I guess. I'm extra sensitive. And I just don't feel like there should be any vibration in this steering wheel. The other thing that just feels a little weird, I feel like the car's wandering a little bit. They did do an alignment. It almost feels like the right front is kind of doing this. Again, that could be in my imagination. It could be that this car is old and it does that and I don't remember, but I don't know. I used to drive this car a lot of miles every day, and I just seem to remember it just cruising straight. When my alignment was out, I just remember I'd have to hold the steering wheel, a little bit to one way or the other, to the left or the right, but it was never the kind of thing where I'd have to like make constant adjustments. And I just kind of feel like there are too many adjustments being made here, and I'll try and demonstrate. So hopefully you can see this. I need a straighter piece of road, but so there's hands off. It's pretty good. I just feel like the car is too easily, so now I'm driving in the crack, and I feel like it didn't used to get pulled around by these cracks in the road as much before this alignment, even with like worn out Michelins. So I'm not sure what that's all about. I'd feel better having the alignment checked just to be sure. Because, you know, and I wouldn't blame them. You know, I understand that, you know, they're aligning, I don't know how many cars per day. I'm sure they're trying to just hustle them out the door, and maybe somebody forgot to tighten the tie rod end all the way or something. I don't know. I've never done an alignment, so I'm not entirely sure what they have to do, but I think that it has to do with adjusting the inner and outer tie rod ends, and probably some other things. But it just kind of, I don't know. I'm just slightly suspicious that something's loose. But again, could be my imagination. I hope it is, because I'm driving up a mountain, and later I'm going to drive down a mountain, and you know, having something bad happen would not be, you know, I mean, it's never good to have something bad happen, but particularly on this road, if any of you Angelinos are familiar with the 14 freeway, you know, there are not a lot of good places to pull over. People drive crazy here. You know, it just wouldn't be good. Little update on miles per gallon. So far on this tank of 91 octane, 20.1 miles per gallon. So not bad. I have done some traffic. I've done some, let's just say, brisk freeway driving, keeping up with traffic, as you do. And what else? Yeah, so I mean, you know, about 20 miles per gallon. It was up to 21 yesterday, but I did, you know, probably 5 miles on Foothill Boulevard, and yeah, it was all like stop and go, 30 miles an hour kind of thing. So that kind of knocked it down to 20. So I've gone through about a quarter tank of gas. Well, more than a quarter tank now. I filled up 101 miles ago. So not great, but not, you know, again, not terrible for a full-size car, although it looks small by comparison to today's full-size cars. You know, if you park this next to a 430, you'll be surprised at how tiny it looks. But it's big next to a Corolla, so hey. But yeah, you know, 100 miles on a quarter tank for a V8, rear-wheel drive, yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. So anyway, I may do an update later today, but so far everything's looking good. Coolant temperature's perfect. No funny noises from the engine. Just a little bit of wandering on the freeway, but maybe that's just me forgetting what this car feels like. Maybe it's just not tight like the new cars. But definitely something I want to look into. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will update you later. Take care. Welcome back. Here we go. I just wanted to do a little update video. It's now 6:21, so I've been out since I think I left around 8:30 this morning. So it's been a solid work day. Averaging 21.5 miles per gallon on the tank, pretty good. And 209 miles since the refuel, so I'm down about a half a tank, a little more. So far, so good. The car really performed great all day, minus the tree sap splattered on my window. It's just that time of year. But the alignment, now that I've had, you know, a couple of 100 miles to really get a feel for it, the alignment's wacky, or something. I don't know if it's the alignment or if it's some other kind of issue, but you know, this car is not behaving itself in the lane. I'm gonna exit the freeway here and turn around, go the other way, and hopefully show you what I'm talking about. But it is, something isn't right. You know, the car has fresh tires, and even though it is driving really nicely, it just kind of, it's just kind of constantly doing this. And, you know, I really hope I can catch it on camera. Let's check out the passing power. Power seems to be pretty good. And that was uphill. Let's see how that affected my fuel economy. 21.5. That's all right. So we'll just make a little U-turn here. I missed my exit earlier, so I figured I might as well catch a little bit of this alignment issue and put it as a bookend on my other video from this morning. Shout out to some new subscribers, Colby and Walter. I mean, you know I love you guys anyway, but thanks for subscribing. I don't know if you're going to watch this. That's okay if you don't, but still, much love. There we go. All right, so I'm going to just kind of hands off here. Now, I know this road isn't necessarily perfectly straight, but if you can kind of see, obviously there was a slight turn to the road. It's not so much that the car doesn't drive straight, but it just won't stay still, if that makes sense. It's just kind of like this. It's hard to really pinpoint, and I really don't know if this is going to show up like on film or digital. You know what I mean. But I guess the best thing would be to maybe just watch the hood and watch the road lines and see. I'm so bummed. I washed this car Thursday, and had it looking like $1,000,000. And then by Saturday, it was just completely trashed, covered in tree sap. And then washed it again Sunday, and it was looking awesome. And then by Monday morning, it looked like this. And not just the windshield. I mean, it's like all over the car. I've just noticed that, like, usually October 1st, our oak tree it stops. I don't know what that's about. Every year we just get covered in this oak sap. And shout out to my neighbor Pete, who hooked me up with some Monterey brand insecticide, and it really helped reduce the oak sap. But we're still getting it. So hopefully that'll go away soon. So anyway, so the alignment, hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to run back to the shop and have them check it out and maybe rebalance the front tires and just look everything over, because I'm not convinced that it's correct. It's not terrible, it's just not correct, if that makes sense. And so yeah, tomorrow probably do another 100 and how many miles is that? Probably about another 130 miles tomorrow. So really putting this car through its paces, which is just what I used to do. This car was my daily driver for half of 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, and half of 2019. And just really took me back and forth with very little problems. I guess the only thing that happened to this car that kind of left me stuck is, like, when I first got it, we drove it to Vegas, and the power steering pump leaked onto the alternator and killed the alternator, which is a really common problem in these LS400s. It happens to, like, almost all of them. So that was kind of a drag, and we had to stay in Vegas for an extra couple days, which, was kind of nice. Frankly, it just cost me a lot of extra money, so that was a bummer. And then I remember there was one morning I had a job at a church in Glendale, and then I had to go play at an amusement park in Anaheim, and the radiator, I think it was my upper radiator hose, like, exploded, and it was just like the thing, what's it called, the neck on the radiator had just cracked and broke off. So I had to get new radiator hoses and a new radiator. Not a big deal. And after that, the lower radiator hose was not an OEM radiator hose, so that ended up rupturing because it was hitting the belt, I think, and so I had to have that replaced. But those are really like the only things that I ever dealt with this car where it just like let me down, and you know, you really can't fault it for those things. That really wasn't that big of an issue. Otherwise, I replaced pretty much every maintenance item. So it's definitely a well-sorted car. You know, I've gone through most of the bushings and suspension components, certainly motor mounts, transmission mount, heater control valve, brakes several times, master cylinder, tires. What else did I fix in this car? It was a lot of stuff. All the fluids, except, and this one I'm not proud of. So don't be like me. I'm a big believer in whatever in your car costs a lot of money, it's worth replacing the fluid for that, you know? And let's face it, anything in your car that has fluid is probably expensive to replace, right? So the transmission, that's expensive to replace. I think it's a good idea every year, you know, do the transmission service. I've kind of stopped doing that the last couple of years just because I'm not really driving the car much, but it's probably due for another service. And I'm not a believer in flushing. I just think it's good to drain and refill and put in a new filter, you know, stuff like that. I have not done the rear end. So I'm pretty sure you're looking at 230,527 miles of original rear end, you know, differential fluid or gear oil, whatever you want to call it. So I haven't done that. I don't know if that's going to be a problem. Maybe it will be. Maybe it won't be. I'm just going to roll the dice at this point, and we'll see. But I've just never really had an issue with those. If you've had an issue, comment down below. I did explode the rear end in my Crown Vic when I had that, but that wasn't my fault. I think that car had done some sort of a high-speed jump. Like, seriously. It was a movie car and it was a police car. So God knows what happened to it before I owned it. And so the rear axle, the entire assembly was actually bent when I bought the car. So the rear tires would sit like this on either side, you know. And so I blast through tires in like something like 3,000 to 5,000 miles. The rear tires would be shot. And then one day I was on the 101 and it just that was it. Curtains. So that's the only rear end I've ever like grenaded. And again, that wasn't my fault, although I was doing a lot of wide open throttle. But you know, can you blame me? I just bought it. It was a police car. It was super fun. It's not like it was fast. I mean, it really wasn't. It's crazy to think that this like grandpa spec Lexus from 1998 has more power than a police car from 2005. You know, I think the 0 to 60 on that cop car was like 8.5 seconds. And I don't know what mine did. It was probably closer to 10 seconds. It sounded really fast. But like this LS400 will do 6.5 seconds. And it'll still do that, like even with 200,000 miles. So, you know, that's kind of interesting. There's usually another LS400 like right over here. I don't know where he is. He's doing a whole rattle can black spray paint job. It's pretty neat. You know, I get it. He doesn't want to spend $80 million on a paint job. You know, no judgment there. Anyway, so just a couple of thoughts for today. The LS400 did great. Hopefully tomorrow I can figure out the wandering, tire situation. And, hopefully I'll have an update for you then. So in the meantime, if you haven't subscribed, please help me out. And hopefully I can do some more interesting content. Like I said, the vlog style has just been a little more convenient for me the last few days. So I would rather put out something like this and have something for you than nothing. So I hope you're enjoying, and I'll look forward to doing some more interesting content very soon. Hope you're having a great day. See you on the next one.